What's up YouTube, DeMi here with another build guide. This is a CI Aegis max block Gladiator using Soultaker to kind of just recharge to full on a block. So without any flash up, I'm at 24k armor, 68% block, but when I proc the Ascendancy nodes and Tempest Shield, it goes up to 78 block chance, and with flash up, I go up to 73k armor, and then Molten Shell gives me an additional like 10k armor as well. So that's the theme. I'm using Earthquake with Soultaker, and more or less, you don't have, like, I don't have any leech currently, and you just recharge basically your entire ES pool every 2 blocks. So it's pretty good for just like general clearing. I'm enjoying the character a lot for mapping. It's got decent clear speed. The bleed explosions from Gladiator, every time you kill a bleeding enemy, it explodes for 10% of its max health as fizz damage. So that means that, like, as you go up higher tier maps, you get to explode things for more and more fizz damage, which is an area damage physical thing, so like it scales off your general physical damage and your area damage from your tree. So you can scale it pretty high and then just kind of pop everything in maps. Using Void Heart for the bleed on hit to proc that bleed explosion. I also get Poison, which is pretty good for single target DPS. As you can see, my AoE is kind of decent. I don't have any AoE scaling on tree, I'm just using increased AoE gem. And as you can see, I have 100% of my mana reserved, which is why I'm using Soultaker. Because it allows you to attack, like, insufficient mana doesn't prevent your melee attacks. So I can attack without using any mana, basically, which is pretty good. But yeah, if I just stand here, let me just like walk into a pack and stand still. Flash up, 77k armor with Molten Shell. Things kill themselves on you. You don't have to do anything. It's a very AFK friendly build. It's great. This is an Ellie Reflect map, but that doesn't matter because I'm pure physical damage. My DPS is garbage for single target, but as you can see from map clearing, it doesn't matter. Everything just dies. The single target we can display on the bosses, I guess. Other things I'm using, I have a +1 curse to the Anvil Legacy. You don't need a Anvil with +1 curse, you can just drop a curse. I'm not using any Blasphemers or anything, I'm just using Castle Damage Taken with 2 curses in it. So if you are not as rich as I am, obviously just use a non +1 curse to the Anvil and you'll be fine. Or you can grab like an implicit block chance one, which is pretty good as well. What else is going on in this build? The rest of your gear, like, I'm using the Vertex as a helm because it gives you +1 socketed gems for your aura setup, which with an Enlightened 4 and Discipline, Grace, and Determination in that helm. Without any aura reservation nodes, I somehow managed to exactly reserve all of my mana unintentionally as I was like theory crafting this build. I was just throwing shit together and like I ended up dropping. I was using Varnastra at first and I was like, I don't really like this. I don't feel like I have enough damage. I want a higher DPS weapon. What axis can I use? Because Earthquake's really good with the axis. And I was like, oh, let's just try Soultaker for the first time. And then I was like, you know what? I don't feel like using Leech anymore because Wallpack plus Leech nodes is a lot of skill points that I could use for damage or other things. So eventually I just dropped all of those things and just went for more block chance, more damage, more ES. Ended up with this and then like, accidentally reserved exactly all of my mana. And I was like, nice. That's always good. I guess we'll just do this gorge and then I'll go back to hideout and talk about the build. Sea Witch Beyond. But yeah, I don't know. Pretty hyped about it. It's really good for map clearing. It's not so good for like Guardians and like endgame super high health bosses, but not every build needs to do those things. I can do them on this build, but without Leech it's kind of hard to do some of the content like that. Especially if there's degens involved, like Hydra. But I don't know, it could do it, it's just like, it's a lot more skill based than most people are comfortable with at that point, so I recommend this build if you like just general clearing maps really safely and being mostly AFK all the time, you'll be fine. Now what other weird things we got going on? I'm also Iron Reflexes to convert all of the evasion on my gear from like the Vertex and from Grace into armor. So that's pretty awesome. I'm also using a Vanguard belt, which gives you armor evasion, so again all of that evasion is converted into armor. Ow. There you can see my ES on block, it's kinda dumb. Yeah, let me just like see if these guys can kill me. I'm frozen, oh no. You can see the curse is proccing occasionally, my reckoning is actually just wrecking them, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, it's a pretty good build. I'm enjoying it. The playstyle is more or less walk into a pack and Earthquake repeatedly until everything explodes. Doesn't require much thought. You just kind of shield charge, get Fortify, and then Earthquake everything. You can also use any other axe melee skill with Soultaker. So you can use like Lacerate, you can use Cleave, you can use Heavy Strike, Sunder. The tree is the same. Like, I don't have any area on the tree, so it doesn't actually fucking matter. So just pick a melee skill that works with a Soultaker and you're good to go. I prefer Earthquake because it does the most damage, and I don't have that much damage on the tree, so good way to get carried. It also interacts really well with Poison Bleed with Void Heart because of the less duration Rapid Decay modifiers on your Earthquake itself. Gives you a bunch of dot damage. I think we're almost done with this map. But as you can see, you just kind of walk into the pack, Earthquake once, and everything will die to the Bleed Explosion, for the most part. Except for rares, they take a couple more hits usually. Map mods you can't do. You can't do less block. No leech is fine because we don't have any leech and we don't need mana leech to do anything. You can do Fizz Reflect actually. I tested a Fizz Reflect shipyard earlier and it was fine. Sometimes you have to just back off for a second if you can't get enough blocks, because you can't actually block Reflect. So most of the time you're gaining ES on block, which is hilarious. But just like be aware that sometimes if you hit too many things at once, there's a chance that enough of the hits get through to kill yourself, so just like don't hit the whole pack at once. Or if you start realizing that you're taking too many hits through your block, just back off for a couple seconds, let your ES recharge, and then go back in and kill the rest of the pack. What else is there to talk about before we get done with this mappy? Not that much, honestly. You can just kind of like see it for yourself in action. It's pretty fun. This is a tier 15 Gorge, actually. Which is pretty fucking cool for XP. I don't usually get good Xanas, so I got this in a T14 map, and then Xana gave me a +1 map, so that puts us up to a tier 15 map. I'll drop a TP in case we die here. I hope we don't die to this. We shouldn't. Single target with Conk is respectable, not like ideal, but it definitely does work. Once you get enough poison stacks on bosses, they tend to drop pretty quick too. And yeah, it's I-84 maps, I-82 map base, pretty cool. Alright, so that is a map example, right? Let's go look at the gear, passives, and links and shit. So, skill tree ascendancy. You are Gladiator. Why Gladiator? Because Bleed Explosions, and also 100% of block chance applied to spells. This is what allows us to get full spell block without investing into Reckless Defenses or like Rainbow Stride, Stone of Lazar, etc. So that makes us pretty fucking safe. It also gives you a large amount of bleeding damage, damage against bleeding enemies, and the enemies you kill explode, dealing 10% of your maximum life physical damage that we talked about in the beginning of the map. That is a huge amount of like AoE clear for general mapping, which is awesome. You also get some block chance, some physical damage, some more block chance, some more block chance, and Pain Forge. This is a 40%. You get 8% additional block chance if you were damaged by a hit recently, which is more or less 100% of the time when you're in maps. You also get 40% increased global damage if you've taken no damage from hits recently, so that's pretty good for single target boss fights. And it's global damage, so it scales your poison, your bleed, and your attacks. We talked about this one. This node here, Violent Retaliation, is hilarious. You get an increased physical damage for each hit you blocked recently, and you get movement speed for each hit you blocked recently. Recently means the last 4 seconds. So if you're standing in a pack and letting them all hit you, the more things that you block in the last 4 seconds, you get these stacks that appear over your buff bar, and it gives you this hilarious amount of movement speed, as well as just generic increased physical damage, which spikes the hell out of your bleed damage and your physical damage from your attacks. Pretty fun node, actually. You also get the 80% increased physical damage if you blocked a hit from a unique recently. Uniques are like bosses, exiles, players count as uniques as well. This build actually works really well in PvP, but that's another story. We won't talk about that for now. So that's the Ascendancy. Your skill tree, you go out through the Duelist start, pick up attack speed and dex nodes, and then you go through Art of the Gladiator for your movement penalty, attack speed, dex stuff. These 3 nodes, this node, I debated going this way for 3 dex nodes or just going through these 3 points. I opted instead for these 3 because it's 24% increased evasion rating and armor. This actually double dips on our evasion, and then it scales again for the armor because we're using iron reflexes, so that's awesome. Let me go up into, this isn't a, like, what direction you should go for. Do not follow this for leveling, just like respec into this at some point. But then you head up, grab a jewel socket. We'll go over jewels at the end of the tree as always. Grab Unwavering Stance because we are CI, we need stun immunity, and I can't wear Eye of Chayula because we need to wear the Anvil, and I'm not crit, so I'm not going to wear Skyforce. You could wear Valerium, I guess, instead of taking these 2 points, but 2 points or a ring slot, I opted instead for Unwavering. And because we're iron reflexes, we can't evade anyway. We don't have any evasion to scale. Grab these 2 points for 4% block chance and melee physical damage while holding a shield. That's great. Grab a jewel socket and then grab up Resolute Technique because we're non-crit and we don't want to worry about accuracy because we have a lot of other shit to worry about on our gear. So, bam, Resolute Technique, done. Then we cut through the Defiance nodes for more block chance, more fizz damage with the shield. Grab another jewel socket. Go down into Testudo for a huge chunk of block chance here. You get 1, 3, 5... 9% block chance for 4 skill points, that's ridiculously good. Pick up Cloth and Chain for a whole bunch of all-res, as well as 36% increased evasion rating and armor rating, so that's another double dipping skill point, same as Bravery. Awesome. Iron Reflexes to convert all this evasion that we're scaling into armor for our Aegis Aurora. And then we grab Dirty Techniques for a huge chunk of physical damage over time, skill effect duration, damage over time. This is like, our bleeds on this character are so fucking big, like, holy shit, they just delete things, it's amazing. Then I grab Command of Steel. This is because we really needed some block chance, so we get 4% block for 3 points, which isn't really ideal, but it's very close to our tree, so I just picked it up. And then we also get some increased defenses from Equip Shield. Defenses is actually the flat armor evasion on your shield, or armor energy shield, so that gives you a fairly large chunk of armor evasion out of your Aegis, which is great. We head up into the Scion nodes, we pick up another jewel socket here, and then we pick up some resist nodes, as well as more increased evasion rating and armor, again to double dip on our flat evasion from Grace, and to scale all of our evasion from our gear into armor with iron reflexes. This node as well, 30% increased evasion, does not double dip because it's not both armor evasion, but still good evasion rating percentage there. Along with these 2 nodes, and then we go over here. You could grab Volpact if you had some Life Leech on your gear. I do not have Ghost Reaver or Volpact. I instead opted for Dirty Techniques because I didn't want to grab Duelist Leech, so I went instead for these Aura nodes. So you need these, actually, oh sorry, I lied about the no reservation nodes, my bad. I just have these 3 for 8% reduced mana reserved to get the total conversion. I guess you could actually get the, wait, hang on, 4%. Okay, this is 12% total, my bad. So you do need to get 12% total reservation on your tree, and as well as a level 5 Enlighten from the Vertex. But we'll go over that in a second. To do the auras that I have. Then I grab the Scion ES here, another jewel socket here with the attack speed nodes, another jewel socket here. I don't have Melding Wheel because fuck it. Damage. And then I go into Witch Supercluster to grab all the relevant ES nodes. This is our main source of ES. These 2 points and these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points are the only sources of ES on our tree. So that's pretty low scaling, which is why my ES is so low. Then I head up into the CI nodes because we need to be CI obviously, and grab another jewel socket. So that's the skill tree. Let's go over the jewels. For the jewels, because I'm using Soultaker, that's a one-handed axe and shield. I looked for 4 property damage jewels that have a lot of double dipping stats. So this one, for example, is 3 double dipping stats: damage, physical damage, area damage, double dip on poison and bleed, and then I have attack speed while holding a shield. If that last node had just been like, I don't know, physical damage while holding a shield or something like that, that would have been great for like 4 really good damage stats, but attack speed is nice as well. This one, damage, physical damage with axes, area damage, attack speed while holding a shield. Again, I have 2 double dipping stats and then 2 damage stats. Solid jewels. This one, same thing, 2 double dipping stats, damage and area damage, and then I have physical damage with one-handed and attack speed with axes. This one, same thing. This one is actually triple dipping. Phys damage, melee damage, area damage, and then attack speed with one-handed melee weapons. This jewel is 2 double dipping, damage and area damage, double dips poison bleed. Then we have attack speed with axes, melee phys while holding a shield, great. This one, 2 double dippings, damage, area damage, then we have phys damage with one-handed and phys damage with axes. This one, let's see. 2 double dippers, melee damage, area damage, then we have 2 phys damage with one-handed melee weapon and axes, great. What's this one? 2 double dippings, 2 non-double dippings. You guys get the theme so far, right? 2 double dippings, 2 non-double dippings. Great. My tooltip is shit. Don't worry about that. It doesn't matter. That's actually with Conk Effect. This is with AoE. 15k. So, the gear, Soultaker, you need this, otherwise you can't fucking attack because you don't have any mana. This is a Legacy Perfect, it's owned by Amazon Prime, it's one-off perfect, it's the best in the game. That's irrelevant though, if you just use a normal Soultaker you should be fine, especially with the one-handed melee buffs coming in 2.6. This should go up to like, non-Legacy I think it's going to go up to like 400 DPS, which is hilarious, and Legacy is going to go even higher. Other gear you need a Void Heart for the bleed poison on hit. If you have a non-Legacy that's fine, it doesn't matter, you still need this to do enough bleed poison to like delete bosses pretty quickly. Helm, you want a Vertex. This is an easy way to get +1 socketed gems. It also has 700 fucking evasion, which is just dumb amounts of like armor for us. Other than that, it's just like an ES evasion helm. Other required gear, let's see. You need the anvil for the block chance, max block chance. If you don't have a legacy, that's fine. You can use a non-legacy. If you want the additional curse, grab one. It's kind of expensive. If you don't have it, just go for like additional block chance implicit, or just a non-corrupted anvil is fine as well. Shield, you want the Aegis Aurora. This is what enables the build entirely. This is our ES recharge on block. With my flasks up, 73k armor. Get the calculator out here. Legacy Aegis is 4% of armor on block, so if you have access to this via standard or through Legacy League, you can get 4% of 73.8k. Means I recharge approximately 3k ES on block, which is more or less half. Pretty fucking dumb. It also gives you 5% max cold res, which is good for defensively. And it's just a decent armor ES shield. It's got really low ES, but that's fine, we don't care. The recharge on block is the important thing here. Other gear, you want a steel ring probably, or like a decent attack ring with ES resistances and strength dex. Sorry, strength int. Strength gives you more physical damage to your attacks, and then int gives you more ES scaling. Sorry, coughing. A perfect ring would be like steel ring with fizz, ES, percent ES, and then int res probably, or int res dex, whichever you need. On your boots, you want as much ES as you can get and as much resistances as you can get. If you can get a little bit of move speed, that's fine. It doesn't really matter that much because we use shield charge, so that's fine. Belt, you want a Vanguard belt with as much ES evasion as you can, armor evasion as you can get with ES if possible. This is a mirror belt that's in my mirror thread below in the description. If you want to mirror it, go for it. It's fucking amazing. It's 1096 armor for this build in particular, because it converts all of the evasion into armor and then scales it twice. It's like, oh my god, if I take this off, I lose 4k of flat armor. Pretty dumb. And then you get as much resistance as you can on your belt as well. Gloves, you just want as much ES as you can get. Dex int is nice. Again, the int scales, each 5 int is 1% energy shield, so this is like 55 in here, 55 in here, and 29 in here. That's like 110 plus 29 is 119. 139 int, which divided by 5 is, what is that, 28% max ES, which is the equivalent of like these 3 nodes together. So that's a lot of ES to get from your int. If you can get it on your, you can get more int on your boots, I guess that'd be great. And maybe if you didn't use the Vertex and had a +1 socketed gems gloves, you could get a huge ES helm with int as well, but this is the easiest way to get +1 socketed gems, so I went for that. As for flasks, because we are a block-based ES build, and we don't have any leech, I didn't opt for Aziri's Promise, because it's just like an extra chunk of poison damage. We don't gain anything from the chaos res, or chaos damage, sorry, which scales our poison. But I don't get the leech because I'm not using Ghost Reaver or Volpact, so that doesn't matter to me. But I am using an Avengers Jade Flask of Iron Skin. This actually gives us 3k flat evasion, and it also scales our armor by a percentage. So with just the Jade Flask, I go up to 49k armor. Then I have a remove Bleed Flask, Ruby Flask here, remove Freeze Flask, Topaz Flask, because it like Topaz, Ruby, and Cold, or Sapphire, sorry. So you get all of the max res. You get 81, 86, 81. That's a huge defensive buff. Then I'm also using a Granite Flask, so this gives us our 3k flat armor and our 3k evasion, so those two combined gives us 62k armor. And I also have a % increased evasion rating flask over here, so that with those 3 flasks together it gives us a 79k armor. So you can only have one of each effect, an increased armor effect, an increased evasion effect, 3k flat evasion, 3k flat armor. So you just have to like juggle around those effects on these 4. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to have the Jade with armor. You can have it on your Ruby. You can have it on your Topaz. As long as you have freeze, bleed, evasion, and armor, you're good to go. You get all the scaling that you can. What else did I talk about? Oh yeah, fuck, the gem links. That's sort of important. So, Aura setup. You have Enlighten level 4 with a +1 helm, so you have a level 5 Enlighten. Then you have Grace, Determination, and Discipline. Grace gives us flat evasion, which is converted into armor. Determination is % scaling of all of our armor. It's 53% more, which is a just straight 53%, 1.53 times your current armor, which is great. Discipline to give us that flat ES that we so desperately crave because we have no fucking ES, and then the Enlighten so we can actually reserve all of this. I think if you have a level 3 Enlighten in this helm and you just take this 4% node here, you should be good to go on the total reservation. If not, you can always grab these 2 nodes as well because they were right next to them. So that's just 3 skill points you have to juggle if you don't have the level 4. Other links. Level 1 casting damage taken linked to Tempest Shield, and then I have it linked to Blind. You could also go for Culling Strike. I think might be better in this case because I just thought about this. We can't actually evade attacks because we are unwavering, so I should change it to Culling Strike. My bad. Let me just grab a call real quick. Bam, Culling Strike. So now whenever you block, you can insta-kill things that have 10% or less life. Hooray, we did it! Improving as we go. Other links in your shield. This doesn't really matter where you put this, I guess. Shield charge, faster attacks fortified. This is our movement skill. You can use leap slam as well if you want. Doesn't matter that much. I use shield charge because it's a little bit faster. Your main 6 link is Earthquake, melee physical on full life, less duration, rapid decay, and then increased AoE. You swap out increased AoE for conk effect if you want for boss fights. Because we're CI, the melee on full is always active because we're always at 1 life unless we're dead. So, great. Rapid decay, less duration also scale our bleed because they are more damage to your bleed poison as well. So that's a huge chunk of damage. And then just Earthquake because it seems to be the best melee skill for this build. Other 4 link, casting damage taken, temporal chains, vulnerability, Molten Shell. Molten Shell gives us 943 flat additional armor, which is scaled heavily by all of our % scaling and our auras, so that's a great defensive buff. Deals a fair chunk of damage as well. Because I'm dual curse with my Anvil +1 curse, I have Temp Chains Vuln. If you only have 1 curse and you want to be super safe, I recommend Enfeeble, but I'm going for Temp Chains because it says other effects on cursed enemies expire 40% slower, so our bleed poison from our Earthquake gets 40% increased duration, which is really, really nice for boss fights. Because of our less duration rapid decay as well, the time scaling is super low, so that is a huge buff to our damage over time. And then vulnerability is like quadruple dipping. They take increased damage from physical. Sorry, they take increased physical damage. It's a 1.39% more, 1.39 more multiplier. Sorry. So it means they take a massive amount of increased damage from our hit itself, and then the bleed is also physical damage. So they take increased bleed damage, and they also take 33% increased damage from damage over time. So it's like that is increased damage taken from poison and bleed. It's fucking ridiculous. Vulnerability is like the best. Holy shit! What the fuck? It's great. Other links. You have a 4 link free in your boots. I have Reckoning linked with melee damage on full life and melee physical damage and Vengeance. This is just kind of a for fun link. You don't need this. Your Reckoning actually does a fair amount of damage though. It's doing 3.3k damage and my Vengeance is doing 3.4k damage. So I do recommend getting those in there somewhere. If you want, instead of Vengeance, you can link Endurance Charge on melee stun if you want some Endurance Charge generation for that juicy % phys mitigation, but it's not that important. I just like the extra DPS because this build is kind of lacking in single target DPS, so these both help a lot against single targets. But yeah, I think that's everything. Look at this fucking dank man. He's so dapper and pretty. Yeah, that's pretty much the build guide though. That is not us anymore. We're this. This guy is beautiful. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the build. It's fairly expensive, but you can make it on a relatively low budget with the Vertex, non-legacy Anvil, non-legacy Soultaker, and non-legacy Voidheart. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions about the build, leave them in the comment section below. The skill tree, the bandits, all that shit's in the comment section. Or sorry, in the description, as well as probably in the comment section too. But yeah, I'll see you in the next video, and that is DeMi out.